Okay, so the first thing to talk about for Mage Dev is the gear. So this is the gear. Full ARMs with an Infinity Hat, Cult Necklace, Purging Staff, Ward, Treads, Torn Brace, and Magus Ring. Confliction Gauntlets are off. Better hats are off right now. This is the best you can get. I mean, you can swap this with the Third Age Amulet if you have one. Third Age Amulet, I personally like it better, but I don't own one right now. So yeah, this is your inventory setup. So you're gonna have a tinderbox. We're gonna have 4 divines. You can bring divine super combats. It's better if you have them, but I'm not wasting money on that because they're primarily used to die. Um, you can also, you need to bring a Hasta, right? And you need to bring a God Sword, probably a BGS, just to fake into it and spec with it if you need to. You can bring gloves and an amulet if you want to in a 4v4. So like you could bring Rancor and Ferocious Gloves in a 4v4. I don't think I would recommend doing that if you're learning, um, because I mean they're not really worth the inventory space even if you're not learning. But if you are learning, they're really not worth the inventory space. Um, and in a 5v5, you don't have the space for them, so I just wouldn't recommend it. Period. You need the Saturated Heart. This item's super important. You pop it every 5 minutes to get your magic level to be permanently 112. Need that. The rune pouch is given to you when you enter the game. Gives you free runes, right? So that's good. Um, yeah, and so that's the gear. So we'll start off with the most fundamental thing for mages, which is managing your HP. When you are maging, you always want to keep your HP hovered around 55 pretty much all the time, unless somebody's going to like AGS you out on ground out at mid or something, right? You want to keep your HP hovered around 55 so that you can die quickly if somebody ZGSs you or freezes you, and you can get a long immunity, right? So, yeah, 55 to 65 HP. If you're really good at making sure that you don't get banged out, you can sit on 45 and like hover over bandages, but I wouldn't recommend it until you get a little bit better. Um, now that we got that out of the way, at the start of the game, you're going to want to be prelowered to 55 HP, right? And at the start of the game, what you do is you come out of the barrier like this. I shouldn't have this on me. You pick one of these up as you run past the table, and then you grab all your cades table, right? And then you run up to the base like this, just like when you're a PK def, and you go over here and you drop these for your PK. Now you don't drop them all for your PK, you just drop about this many. You grab 5 bandages and you go back down, right? You sip this, you drop it, go like this, go like that, drop 3 buckets on your way over here, fill up 2 buckets, right? And then you grab as many explodes as you can carry at this point. It's usually 5. You can carry 6 or 7 if you're newer. They're good to have on you. And then you're going to want to run straight over to here, um, like, and see if you can catch somebody over this catapult when they're running in. And if you don't see anybody immediately when you run over here, then you want to run back over to here. The reason you run over here is because on this tile, if a scorer runs in like this, you can cast them from here all the way out to there, right? Now if I run away, I'll unfreeze them, right? Because I'll run out of range, right? But the other thing about these tiles is if the scorer is like in here, right? You can actually cast somebody that's in there over the wall from here, right? So these 3 tiles are really good to stand on for mages, specifically this one, right? If you're not going for the guy over the wall as your priority cast, then you want to stand on this tile here. And the reason that you want to stand on this tile is because if somebody is over here, you can cast from here people that are grabbing stuff, right? And when you're on this tile, you can cast somebody that's outside the wall and it'll warp you here and pull you out here and cast them. Or you can cast somebody that's in here and it'll pull you here and cast them in the supply, right? So this is just a versatile tile that lets you catch this guy, and then lets you let this guy that's over here run in closer till he's like over here or something like that, or over here, and then you can cast the guy over here that's his partner, and then cast him, and then you don't have to unfreeze anybody by walking out of range, right? So that's the gist of like how you start the game off as a mage. The gist of it, like, so these are the main tiles. Like if you stand here or you stand here, either one is good. They're both fine, right? The other spot you can stand is here, and this is like if you really, really are prioritizing catching the guy from under, and you don't really care about the guy at smalls very much, right? Um, and this has its purposes, right? It's not bad. So any of these three tiles will do, really. But I would recommend this one because this is the one that's the midway tile where it's like more versatile, right? Also, you're going to want to have your screen zoomed out so that you can see far enough to cast people, obviously. Like, I would recommend like 400 zoom, but like you can play in like 450 or smaller zoom, but then you have to spin your camera a lot, right? So just be aware. So if I'm a mage, the next thing to talk about is red clicking, action clicks. So anything like climb, take this off the ground, use this on the spear wall out there, barrage a player, anything that gives you a red click rather than a yellow click, like a walk click, right? So in this situation, say this is the guy's partner and this is the other guy, right? If I cast this guy, I shouldn't go to tin this cade, generally speaking. I should just click the stairs. Because if I red click to the stairs from back here, then this guy can't really put me in a box because you will queue through the spear. So I'll demo that now. So I'll just cast this partner, click the stairs, and then go over here and spear myself, right? You see how like I'm don't get pushed by the spear, right? Like if I tin the cade and go like this, and he spears me right when the cade falls over, I'll just walk right through it and go up when the cade falls, right? So this is kind of the idea. So here's another really easy way to demo a red click. So say this is a score that came up back ladder. I cast him, right click the stairs, and then this guy spears me. Oh, spear doesn't do anything, right? He doesn't get in front of me at all, right? So that's why when you're playing the game, you always want to try to red click stuff after you throw a cast. So you cast and tin that cade, or um, say like cast and click to attack that guy, right? Because then that way, if he spears you, you'll pull to him, right? Or cast and click the crate, cast and click the staircase, stuff like that, right? So the next thing to talk about would be like generally good locations to stand. So in the spawn, this is a really good location to stand. This tile right here, because this tile lets you see people that are like all different angles, right? I can cast you here if you're here. I can cast you if you're like here. I can cast you if you're here, here. I can see basically everywhere in the spawn unless they block me off with a cade. And to block me off with a cade, they have to pretty much put the cade like right next to me or like diagonal to me, right? So if you stand here as well, they can't spear you into like a super bad spot. If they spear you, you won't go diagonal around the wall. If they spear you back, you can still see the staircase, and they put you back in line to cast them like pretty much the entire spawn, plus also here. Yeah, so you want to like memorize this kind of idea of standing on spots where you can't be speared into a compromising location, where they can just block you off if you get frozen, and your PK can tin under you, and you can just cast without having to do it. You just cast, right? So that's one of the spots that's good. Other spots that are good are staircases. So one of the reasons staircases are good is you can cast, and during the tick where you're stalled, you can go up the stairs, and it's like you don't even lose any time. Like, I'll give you an example. I come up the stairs, right? I run to the staircase. cast go up. See how I don't even lose the time where I'm casting, right? I can do it again over here. Cast go up, right? And you can do that on the way down too. Cast go down, right? So this is super good because it means that that 2 tiles you usually lose for throwing your cast, you don't lose because you do it as soon as you hit the stairs, and you can go down on the same tick that you throw the ice barrage, where you're supposed to be locked in place, right? So that's really good. It's also really good because if you have pid, you can hop up and down the stairs like this without people being able to hit you, so they can't spear you off and they can't freeze you. Also very good. While you're doing it, you can like slowly put your spear on like this. You can turn your spec on, and then like if you have pid, you just click on them, and then you can get away, right? Run away from them, right? So those are good tiles in the base to stand on. Third floor is another similar example. Would be like so I can cast the stairs from here in Zamorak base. In Sarah base. In Zamorak base, I can cast from here, so I just stay on the stairs in Zamorak base. But in Sarah base, I go to here, or I go to here, right? I prefer here because it's harder to cade off here. I believe it's not so easy. It's not as easy to cade off here, and usually on third floor when they're coming down and stuff like that, you cast here and you red click the trapdoor. Another interesting thing you can do is you can come up the trapdoor and throw a cast and go back down like that, which is very useful if you have to rely. Mm. Now, what's another good spot? Okay, so earlier I already told you at the starting game portion, like to stand here is a good spot when people are coming into your base, right? But here is better when people are out of your base. So like if somebody goes out of your base, uh, for example, like say this guy runs out of your base and he tries to like hug the wall, you can still catch him from this distance. This is exactly max range. And you can catch people way out here over by the catapult. And the nice thing is, um, oh, sorry, I have to walk out of range again. So this is out of range, I'm pretty sure now, because I walked 1 tile over. So that's the one thing, if somebody spears you 1 tile up, they can unfreeze. But yeah, I can cast that guy for a long ways. And if he's like over here, I can cast him over the wall from here, right? So I can cast like pretty much over the whole wall, except for where this crate blocks me, which is just this little area, right? Um, if I run back down this way and I go over here, I'm pretty sure I might even be able to cast. I can't remember exactly every tile I can cast on, but I'm pretty sure I can cast here too. Yeah, straight over the wall, right? When somebody's going out the door. So this is a really disgusting spot. It's just 1 tile north of where they. So this is like where you stand when they come in. And this is where you stand when they're going out. Like when they're offing you and you're gonna get froze. You want to get froze here. This is a really good spot to get froze. It's also a really good spot for off mages to get froze because the off can cast all of the defense that's trying to get out from here really well. Yeah. Okay, so that's mostly the nice. Those are generally the tips on like the nicest spots on where to stand. Spots where you can't get speared into shitty locations, and you can see everything, right? So yeah, the spots I talked about, the staircases, um, some of the key central spots where you can see the whole floor. This spot when people are coming in, this spot when people are going out, right? Very good locations. There's also this spot up here where you can go for the catapult cast. These 2 spots, but I wouldn't recommend standing here unless you're like super advanced. I wouldn't do that. I would 100% this is better if you're new. Now we're going to talk about lowering your HP, the best way to lower your HP or use your divines and stuff like that. So when you drop an explode and you're moving, so if I click over here and drop an explode, it'll stop my character from moving, right? So what you want to do when you're trying to lower your HP fast is you want to red click something, divine and drop an explode, and then divine again as soon as your explode goes away, and then boom, you're down like 35 health, like that, really fast, and you don't stop moving at all, and you can't be speared because you're red clicked, right? So that's generally how you do it. And yeah, it's the same thing. Like when your explode stall ends after your divine's over, you just wait until you can sip the next one, and then you sip, drop, sip, sip, drop, sip, sip, drop, sip. That's how you do it. That's it. It's easy. So the next thing to talk about is Ice Barrage timer, right? So Ice Barrage is a 32 tick freeze, right? So this means that if you cast someone, it's 6 more casts until they move, right? Generally speaking, right? So if I cast him, 1, now I start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now look, he's moving right now, right? So that means that after your 6th cast, you're going to want to immediately probably tend to cade and set a cade or something like that, right? So that like you time it right when he moves. That is how you want to get the Ice Barrage timer down in your head. You won't have to count like this all the time, right? But you should get used to counting the timer. And then once you get it down, you'll have a natural timing for it, right? So the next thing I would say is just that if we do the exact same thing again, here's another trick. If I go 1, so I go 1 cast, whack, whack, please don't kill him, cast, cast, and spear. This is basically a tick perfect spear, right? And now I can refreeze him again, right? So that's another see that's another thing that a lot of people don't know. 2 whacks and 3 casts into a spear is a tick perfect spear. So like if I freeze you, then I cast whack whack cast spear, that's a tick perfect spear. And so what that means is the exact tick the Ice Barrage freeze ends, my spear goes off. Spear is a 5 tick stun. Spear is a 5 tick stun. And your immunity before you can get refrozen is 5 ticks when your Ice Barrage ends. So if you do that tick perfect with PID like that, you can refreeze somebody on the same like tile without them even getting a move. And that's really important. So you want to know generally when somebody's freeze timer is going to end. And as a mage, your most important thing that you're doing all the time, always, is always spearing and then going like this and cading and lighting 2 cades on fire and then going for a cast again to refreeze a person. Always. Right? So that is like your main thing now that the spear is fixed. And that is like Ice Barrage timers. Now, the trick is I can demo this if I lower my HP enough. Right? Now, if I'm low HP and he freezes me, right? Let's say he freezes me. If I can ever catch a cast on myself, this will be interesting to see. I'll just try and take my robes and stuff off so that I can give a better chance. Why can't I not freeze me? Please, freeze him. Purging Staff is overpowered. I'll take that off. There we go. So now, this is why you keep your HP low, because if I die, now this whole Ice Barrage timer, I'm still immune, right? So I can just run, and if he casts me, if I can actually catch a freeze on myself again. See, I won't be froze. I'm still immune. Now I can see the freeze is cast upon you is beginning to thaw or whatever. That means my immunity is about to go away, right? So that's why you keep your HP managed around 55 to 55. Just keep it around 55, like I said earlier, right? Because if you get off maged or ZGS'd or anything like that, you want to be able to die immediately as fast as you can. The faster you die, the longer your immunity, the more you can run away and get ahead and reposition and all that good stuff, right? So the next thing to talk about would be generally how to position as a mage. So when players are coming up your base, right, and your PK def is over here, right, and he's back tending, and he's got like a full set base and spec and whatever, you position very aggressively as the mage. Your objective is to maximize your casts, right? always in general is to maximize your cast as a mage, right? So you position very aggressively, like back here where you can just throw casts at them and they have a hard time cading you out, all that jazz, right? On the way up, you just keep casting and staying behind the PK's back tinned on the same side as the scorers, right? Now, on the way down, as the mage, if the scorers are both over here, right? If their scorers are both like over here or whatever, and none of them are focusing on the PK and none of them are staying down, and you know your PK has like lots of cades, right? Then in that situation, you can play up. Like you can come over here. You can like cast in the cade, run a trap door, right? Well, like after instead of yellow Xing, you'd red X, right? So you do something like you you can just play up on them, right? Like if they're both over here, you can like cast, um, cast in the cade, red X trapdoor, cast red X trapdoor, right, like that kind of stuff. When one of them is uh, playing here, right, on the stairs, ideally you want to try and spear them off, right? And sorry, I didn't walk under him. Spear them off like this, right? Whether it's up top here, down at the bottom here, wherever you want to freeze them and then spear them off so that they can't like play the stairs, right? Um, then the next thing would be if the scorer is like sitting down here, like he's not just sitting on the stairs, he's full on sitting down here. And even if he is sitting on the stairs, actually, it's not a bad idea to just go down like this because you really don't want to let this guy control like your spawn, right? You don't want to let this guy like control this area and just sit on top of your PK def. You want to stay on this guy that even if he doesn't have the flag and camp him, and then you want to let your PK def take the 1v1 up there with the ZGS. And what you want to do is get this guy so that he can't like ZGS you or spear you or whatever. And then you want to duck in the barrier door, and you'll probably be pretty low cades at this point, right? And you want to grab like 10 bandages and position like in a location like over here, where you can like throw cast and then run away, right? Or like where you're like here, you have a cade under you, throw a cast, and then you run away. And then when you run away, you either want to run this way out the big doors or this way out the small doors outside the catapult. And you want to run away because one of them is going to try to ZGS you, right? So ideally, you want to run pretty far away, like over here somewhere, right? And yeah, so that you're far away from the ZGS. And if they start to come down back ladder, then you want to run further this way, right? In most of this is like for 4v4s, right? Uh, and then you can stay like around this area. And if they come out the door, you can start casting them. If they hug the wall, you can cast them. And if not, you can always go to mid when they cut under, and you can get to the ladders to cade the ladders. Um, You can also get to the tunnels, but playing the tunnels as a mage in these games is a little bit hard because if you don't have PID, they can just open it and then spear you as soon as they open it, like just click on you and spear you, right? So it's lots of times it's better to just like stand back from the tunnel and just cast as much as you can, block the ladder, and then tend it, and then keep casting, right? So like, for example, like you could cast you could just have this tunnel rocked. You could cast this guy, and then he unrocks it. Like if he puts his spear on, then you run back. He unrocks it. You go like this, cast, and then click the ladder over here to run through his spear, and then cast, right? And yeah, something like that, right? Um, yeah. The other thing to keep in mind is how you rotate across the map, right? So if you know that there's going to be, or there's a good chance that there's going to be an enemy mage at middle, and you don't know that this is a safe place to run. Like if your head mage hasn't told you like this place is clear of an enemy mage, um, you just assume that there's somebody here always in this area, right? The map. So what you can do is you can go out smalls like you normally do, and instead of going to mid like this, you can go rocks like this, right? And then if there's an ahead mage that comes over here to off you, he'll be confused. He won't know where you are. Um, Other things you can do, if you go out bigs, right, and sitting here, you can go rocks like this. Other things you can do is you can just run ahead from your base. Like you can tell your PK ZGS the guy, your PK ZGSs them. You go under, and then you go from under across, like, and you pop up in their base, and you def like in this space, right? Um, you don't really want to sit mid like this for a long time when the enemy mage can come and get you. It's okay to sit mid like this if you know you're safe, but you have to know that you're safe, right? Um, yeah, and that's general positioning. Okay, I guess one of the next things to talk about would be like when to reset in games, right? So whenever the flag is just completely lost, and you have the option to just go off mage for like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, whatever, you need to make sure that they have no rubber. If they have even remotely a chance of a person on their team getting back in like this general area before you can die, like you don't really want to do that, especially as a new player. It's just game throwing. Just don't do that when you're learning. It's bad. Just die and reset and just take the fucking L on the chin and play defense and trust your scorers to score, right? Don't do this stupid shit where you run into the enemy base and stay there for like 4 hours. Every time people do that, it ends up bad. You're just relying on your PK to have to 1v1 somebody for like 5 minutes while you sit in the base, and it's you know take pride in the fact that like you like either def them or you lose, right? It's okay to lose if you play worse than them and they beat you, then they beat you, right? Like it's better to reset and be clean and try to win and come back cleanly than it is to try and cheese a win that you don't deserve by staying in the enemy base and just hoping the enemy team is troll, right? So just come back, reset. Don't let them go up to your fourth and just grab the flag for free as soon as as soon as the score gets to your base, right? Like, just please don't let them do that. Okay, so the next thing would be like when and where to use your cades, right? As a mage, your job is to maximize casts. So your job is not really to cade. That's why earlier when I was talking about spearing to get the immunity off of people, now that the spear is reverted, that's a super important thing because that's your primary way of actually like being a good defender and getting space is to just use the spear on the right timing. A lot of your cading, you're not going to be doing that very much because um, as a new mage, you're probably going to have an inventory that looks like this, right? With like more divines in it and like a Castle Wars brew, maybe 2 Castle Wars brews, right? And you're only going to have like a couple of cades, right? So you want to save these cades for when your PK has to go stock, right? So you don't want to use these before your PK stocks and then just be sitting here with nothing in your inventory um, to def with, right? Like while your PK stocks. So let's say that there's like 2 people over here, right? Right. You have the 2 scorers frozen. Your PK runs out of cades, and he goes to stock. Okay, cool. Now he's going to stock, right? These guys are gonna move soon. Whatever. Um, when they move, when they're gonna move, you go up and you go like this, and you tend yourself in on the stairs, right? And then go like this, and then you click Ice Barrage on one of them, right? And then when the cades fall over, you'll cast, and you just try and get as many casts and stall as much as possible for the PK to stalk and come back without having to rely cast. Right? That's the gist of it. And so, um, yeah, and you're gonna always have cades dropped in the barrier like this. So you're gonna want to make sure that like once you freeze them on the way down, your PK comes back, whatever. You can always duck in here, grab a couple cades for ground and some bandages before you leave, because when you go down ground, right, people are gonna chase you around with ZGSs and shit like that, or the enemy mage is gonna come and he's gonna try to cast you. Like say the enemy mage is like right here, oh, enemy mage is here. Now I have to like freeze the mage and set a cade here so that like he can't cast me because a cade's in the way, right? If I don't have a cade to set there, I'm just doomed, right? So having a couple cades, like 3, 4 cades for ground is really, really important. Having bandages when you get down is also really, really important. So make sure that you have that because every time that you splash, right, the other guy is just running at you full force with the spec weapon, and he can just get your ass, right? Uh, if you splash too much. But if he's running at you with the ZGS, right? Say he's barreling at me with the ZGS, I can set a cade and cast at the same time like that, and then keep running, right? And cast like that and keep running, right? And every time that I lose 2 tiles, he also loses tiles because he slams into the cade, right? So that's why it's really important to have some of these on you on ground because if you splash like 3 times on a ZGSer and then he's like this far away from you, right? And you're like over here. Now you got to set a cade and run away so that he slams into it, so you can keep casting him, right? Otherwise, he's just gonna get you. Like even if you cast him on the next cast, he's gonna get you too. If he pids you, he's gonna pid through your cast and he's gonna get you, right? So yeah, that kind of stuff is really important, and that's generally how you use your cades. You want to use your cades only really on staircases where it's like a one-way block. You want to save almost all your cades for when your PK goes to stock, and you always want to grab a couple cades before you get down ground to dodge ZGSs, juke people, block line of sight from, on casts, maybe help you under at mid when if you have to play under at mid at the tunnels, all that stuff. I guess the last two things to talk about for like the very basics of maging or like the things that you kind of need to understand a little bit would be that like if um if somebody wants to melee you, they can melee you from pretty far out like this. So he can melee me from like 2 tiles out, but he can't melee me from 3 tiles out, right? So you always want to be at least that far away before you throw a cast. Because every time you throw a cast, that you're gonna lose 2 tiles of gap, like I said. So it's very important to be like this far away from people when you're casting them, at least, right? Like this kind of far away. And then every time you cast, after you cast, you want to set a cade under you and run away, right? Because if you don't set the cade, then like they're gonna catch up. Already talked about that, but it's super important, so I'm just gonna stress it again, right? Now, the last thing to talk about would to be rotations and things like that, like letting your teammates up. So in a situation where you're in a game and enemy scorers are up in your base, right? They're like over here, frozen in the middle of your spawn, say, like over in this area, right, where this guy is. Now, if your scorers get out and your scorers say like, I'm scoring all the way under, or I'm scoring all the way mid or whatever, right? You have to leave your PK over in this area and just run over here and just play for this space, right? So like they move, you spear them, you go like this, you cast, you tin this off, you go like this, you tin this off, and you just don't let them down so that they can't def your team. And then what you do is you go like down here, you run here to the wall, right? And then you see if you can catch any defenders that are coming this way, and you get ready in case one of the scorers comes down if you splashed, right? Maybe you have to spear, maybe you have to put a cade here and go like this, and then go here, right? But you just don't want to let the scorers def your scorers. If the scorers are going to def your scorers and you can't help it and there's nothing you can do, you need to tell your scorers to wait. You need to tell them to wait. And you need to do it well in advance. Well in advance. Right? Um, Similarly, if you go to the enemy base chasing a flag, right? Like if you're chasing a flag, I'm going to say the same thing I'll say about PK def, like in the other video. Like I said before, there's all that stuff about not crossing through middle without knowing it's safe and all that jazz, right? But you want to stand in areas where you're ahead of the play, right? So say like there's a guy scoring South Rocks right now, and I'm over here and I catch him over on the wall, right? I want to stand in an area that's like over here when the guy's over here because he has to run that way, and I want to stand like as far this way as possible, and I want to stand kind of off at an angle, like over in this way, so that, um, say, like if I'm over here, right, I catch him and then I run over here. Now I can cast him along this whole wall. If he goes this way, I can cast him for this whole way, and I can cast basically you want to think about yourself as the center of a circle, right? So you want your circle to be in a good spot where where you can get as many people as possible. So if you catch a guy over here, you stand here in the center of the circle, right? Similarly, you don't want to stand in locations where if you get frozen when you're in the enemy base, like if you're defing in the enemy base or you're offing, chasing, whatever, um, if somebody's scoring under for them, you don't want to like stand here and then get caught here in this place and then not be able to cast anybody because you're here, right? If you do get caught somewhere in this area, you want to be caught like here or here where you can see like this whole space, right? And even if you do get caught here, it's not great because it's much better if you just play the spawn, right? Like if I come up the spawn and I stand somewhere like I said earlier, like right here, this is much better than like because I have scores up here. My PK can cade around me where they can't go around, right? Cade under me. Well, in Zamorak base, you would stand here actually because this is a better spot because your PK can cade under you, right? Rather than here. But you get the idea though, right? Um, you just want to stand in places where you can control multiple space, right? And similarly, if the scorer got up to Zamorak spawn, right, and he was like over there, you'd want to go up to third floor and get on the stairs to third floor and just hide on third floor. You want them to run into you. You want them to lose their immunity before they get to you, and you want to get as many casts as possible off immunity. So you stand in places where you do that, no matter what, right? Just, just that's it. Yeah, and I guess the very last thing to talk about would be cast priority. So when you're casting people, you always want to prioritize the most dangerous person. So um, that's usually the off is the most dangerous person, greater than like the support scorer that doesn't have the flag on that's gonna spear you, greater than the flag, right? Um, there's some situations obviously where you're gonna want to cast the flag, right?